Hey, what's up, YouTube? King James here. High mobility, fast firing, close range ARs have been a pretty big staple in the last couple of seasons. And there's lots of choice out there. There's the FARA, there's the XM4, and there's also the GROZA. A lot of people have forgotten about the GROZA, but in the recent patch, it got a pretty big buff because it was sort of always an underperforming gun. And just like the Milano, which was an underperforming gun and it got a buff, so did the GROZA. The damage, the mobility, everything is a lot better than what it used to be. And I've got a pretty good build for it that I'm going to share with you right now. All right, so first off, there's a couple things to know about the GROZA. Is it hits real hard up close, but it's not the best long-range gun. But I'll show you why that doesn't matter in a minute. But first, let's look at the time to kill on it. And versus the FARA and the XM4, which are other popular close-range AR options, the GROZA beats them all right out to about 24 meters. And while that doesn't seem very far, you watch a little bit of my video, you might notice your engagement is all within that range. And then after that, well, the XM4 and the FARA, they beat it pretty well at the longer range game, but I'm pairing this with a sniper, which is what I'm using for my long range. So when it comes to close range, the GROZA is pretty dang strong. It really works well at this close range right here. And this is what's making the thing so good. And let me show you a little bit about the mobility and the reload speed. So here's the summary on the guns with some attachments. And one thing I like about the GROZA is look at the ADS time. It's almost 200 milliseconds. So that's right into sort of starting SMG territory. They get into like the high mid 100s, but the rest of them are 284, and the XM4 is not bad at 227. They have similar sprint to fires. Their movement speed is about the same. But one thing I like about it, it's got a fast reload time. This is sort of where the FARA suffers. I really like the FARA, but the reload time, you got to plan for it a bit because it's 3.5 seconds versus almost 2 seconds flat for the GROZA and 236 for the XM4. So if you're looking for something a little different than the XM4 you want to run and you like those close range engagements with an AR, you want to give the GROZA a try because it's pretty strong. Let me show you a little bit of video of me using it and why the 24 meters really matters, because this is where the engagements are. All right, so check this out. Here is me using the gun when I, first started and trying it after the major buff. And this is one thing I noticed is when I looked at it, I was like, hey, the, damage outpass isn't as good as the other guns, but you look at all these engagements, every one of these is within 25 meters. 25 meters is actually a pretty far distance away when you look at it when you're actually playing. Like that might be 10 right there. A bunch of the, this is almost going to be up close or maybe 10 meters right here. So here's the thing. It actually kills faster than some of those other guns. So if you run up close like this with a guy and they happen to be shooting you at the same time, you're going to get the down instead of them if they're using an XM4 or a FARA because it's just so strong up close. I think it's probably the strongest close range AR. If there's one that's better, let me know, but so far this seems to be one of the stronger ones. But it was never really that good in the beginning, which is why a lot of people didn't use it. Although I've been using it and it's pretty good. So if you didn't check out the patch notes, let me show you quickly what they did to the GROZA. So they're talking here about in a future patch that they're going to do sweeping balance changes to the guns and increase the time to kill just a little bit so that, it gives you an opportunity to do some cool plays instead of just getting down if you happen to be, facing the wrong way, which happens to a lot of us. But you can see on quite a few of the guns, they did some buffs and, some nerfs, like the Street Sweeper was crazy strong, so they nerfed the heck out of it. But look at the GROZA. It actually got a pretty solid buff. And what did they do to it? Well, minimum damage, 18 to 23. That's a huge improvement. And the upper torso damage, so there's a multiplier on it. So it went from 1.1 to 1.2, and the lower torso 1 to 1.1, and the maximum damage range was decreased by 12%, but it was already crazy long. And as you saw on the time to kill chart, it's already got a pretty long range on it that really works well. So this thing's been pretty good. And they said as a relatively slow firing, low damage assault rifle, it's no surprise that GROZA has been underperforming. Preemptive balance adjustments at the beginning of Season 3 to tune it up should put it in a solid position for short to mid-range mobility-based ARs. And it really does. This thing rocks up close now. So as I said, I'm carrying my GROZA with the Swiss K31, which is an amazing sniper rifle. I actually think it's the best sort of short, medium range sniper in the game. And if you haven't tried it out, you really should. But we're here to talk about the GROZA. So let me show you my build for that. But just before I do, I want to say thank you to everybody who's been here watching my videos, commenting, hitting the thumbs up button, and all the things. I really appreciate all that love and support. So thank you guys. And if you haven't subbed to the channel, consider subscribing because it really does help small content creators like myself. All right, let me show you my build. So the one thing I like about the Groza is already got a pretty fast ADS time for an AR, and it's a high mobility AR. So it gives us an option to use a couple of different attachments. So a few of the normal ones for the muzzle, suppressor, I'm using that because it's got the sound suppression, damage range, bullet velocity, and it doesn't have any negative to ADS time. And that's one thing that this gun's really great at, is having a fast ADS. Now for an optic, I'm running the Microflex LED. I've really been loving this thing lately over iron sights. I don't know why, but it's been working really well for me. Now to add to the mobility of the gun, for a stock, I've been using the KGB pad because it gives you sprint to fire, which is super important on this gun, but also a bunch of other movement speed, ADS and aim walking, which really does help you when you're using the gun. And for ammo, I'm using the 45 round drum because it gives you more ammo with no negative to ADS speed. So because the ADS on this gun is already pretty fast, I'm not using a rear grip, but I am using an underbarrel, and I'm using the Spetsnaz speed grip because the gun does have a tiny bit of recoil, so giving it a horizontal and vertical recoil control really helps straighten it out and makes it a lot easier to use. And this is how I've been running the gun, and it's been crazy successful for me. So as I said, I've really been enjoying using this thing. One thing that's really good about it, which you're going to see in the clip that's running right now, is in the up close engagement, it's really strong. I'm able to get the downs instead of getting downed. And that's a thing about it versus the FARA or the XM4 up close. That extra little bit of speed that it does for the time to kill, I'm telling you, has saved my butt a ton of times. I've run up to a guy and started shooting at the same time as him, and I get the down instead of being down. So if somebody's coming at you with an SMG or one of the other popular high mobility close range ARs, the Groza is going to beat it, and because of that buff, they really added a lot of damage to it. So it's been pretty good, and I suggest you give it a try. If you have another way that you're running this thing, or another build type, or somehow you're using it that I don't know about, hit me up in the comment section down below. I love trying different builds, I love trying different setups, and sometimes I don't always get everything 100% right, and I have some great suggestions for you guys. So if you got something that's been working for you, hit me up. And as always, guys, if you don't see me in Warzone, if you don't see me in multiplayer, it's only a matter of time, baby. King James out.